Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Donovan Sadiq. I'm the Inland Empire Informer. I am here to inform you of what's going on in the Inland Empire in California, as well as black issues that regards to black people around the world. Thank you guys for joining. Please like and share. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. We're out there. I'm the Inland Empire Informer. Donovan Sadiq. I'm going to be your host for the evening. What I'm going to talk about right now is something that is very alarming and nobody is taking seriously. The forbearance deferment, whatever you want to call it, for the housing loan. Now, in 2008, we went through this economic crisis, which was really, really serious thing. During that time, during the Obama years, it happened initially under Bush. TARP happened under Bush. Then Obama came in and it kind of overlaid. So a lot of white people get TARP confused and blame Obama when that was a Bush thing. But nobody wants to Google it, and Google's right there. You can Google it on your phone, you can Google it on your phone, your watch, whatever you need to Google on. But TARP was started under Bush. But 8 years of Obama, that's when the effects started, people started feeling the effects of the recession that happened. And during the 8 years of Obama, black people lost a third of their wealth. Now they're saying by 2053, black wealth is going to be zero. That is not true. We are technically, last I checked, we were 12 years from zero, and now that we are now in another economic situation, you take that 12 years and you cut it in half, if we can survive. So a lot of us didn't learn a damn thing from 2008. We went and got a new house. We went back to what we were doing. For those of us that survived. Now, I live in my family home, and my family home is 40 years old. We bought it in 1980. It is paid for. It's free and clear. I remember years people were saying, "Oh, Donovan, you can get this house," or I got a lot of friends that are in the real estate market, and they know I have decent credit. And they're like, "Oh, we can put you in this nice, 800,000. You qualify for this, you qualify for that." But I, Donovan, have never been the one to be for, big houses and things like that, because I've come to the realization that I can't take any of this with me if I go to heaven or if I go to hell. So I would be better off in a tent. Just have me some property, and I'm comfortable in that, because you can't take any of this stuff with you. So why bother, right? Right. So getting back to 2008, here we are in 2020, and we are in another economic recession. And now, once again, the government is doing the same tactics. The government and the bank are doing the same tactics that they did in 2008. So if you went through this catastrophe in 2008, you should know what is going to happen now. I've been saying for the last 4 weeks that you would be dumb to jump into the forbearance program or get any help from these banks. You're better off just paying your bills, period. $1,200 is not going to help you, especially if you live here in California. So how does the forbearance thing affect you? All right. I've got 2 videos I want you guys to see. One about black wealth and one about housing. And in the video that you've seen, that here was a lady and that video was in 2008, that she got this, she's from Africa, she got this overwhelming house, she's trying to keep up with the Joneses like black people love to do. We love to act like we're rich, but we really aren't. We're really cash poor. And she got caught up, and I don't know what happened to her at the end of the video, but to be $1 million in debt, and you have $100,000, you make $100,000 a year. We're 10 years later, and just the greed was unbelievable. She had another property she was paying on, and all this other stuff. She had college degrees. We have to stop telling our children, go to college and get a degree. Everybody has a degree. Nobody has a job. The only people that I know that are working are people that went to vocational school and can work with their hands. Auto mechanics, beautician, aircraft mechanics, tooling, even though most of our manufacturing base is overseas now. So, and we know our kids. Some of our kids ain't about shit. So be honest with yourself. Save yourself the money. Some of us send our kids to college and they incur this debt and they don't graduate. We got to stop all of that. And we were talking about that on the Demetra K Show, and you can find Demetra K on YouTube and Facebook. She goes Facebook Live every Sunday at 3 p.m. So we got to be honest. I mean, there are no jobs out there. We got to, some of our kids ain't about shit, and yet we let them go to school. They incur all this debt that they can never pay, and they are now in crisis. So after 2008, we've gone through this. You got hoodwinked. They took your house anyway. I've been saying for 4 or 5 months, if you can't make your house payment now, you're not going to make it then. And here's another thing you got to think about. Let's say you do qualify for everything that they did. And Elmwood Graham, the video that I put up previously, if you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel, check it out. It's up there. Everything's archived. And he explains it, what had happened, because it happened to him. They said, you got to wait 30 days to default, all this other stuff like that. If you take that forbearance program, not only do you risk the chance of not qualifying and still being behind in your payment, because at the end of the forbearance, let's say, okay, like the government just said, they can't touch you for 3 months, right? But after the 3 months, you have a lump sum payment of 3 months. So if you have a mortgage of $2,500 here in California, $2,500 a month, that's $5,000, that's $7,500. You've got to come up at the end of the 3-month forbearance program. So let's say they give you a forbearance and they extend it another 6 months. That's $15,000. 16 months, $16,000, $15,000 in 6 months. You've got to come up with $15,000. If you had that kind of money, you wouldn't need to get into the forbearance program. But let's say you did it anyway. You're trying to buy time. Great. While you're buying that time, they're not reporting on your credit. And when you don't have the money to pay for stuff, they're destroying your credit at the same time because you're not making that payment. It's a ghost payment. They don't know what happened. Then they've got to report it. So guess what? If you let them do that, you get into the forbearance program and you let them do that, and you have, let's say, a 760 credit score. One missed payment, late payment, could drop your score by 100 points. So not only are they screwing you over on the other end, knowing that you're not going to be able to make this payment because you can't make it over here right now, they're destroying your credit. So a lot of us, not me, but a lot of my friends that were in 2008 went through this. Not only did they end up losing the house, their credit was damaged in the process. So they're getting you one of two ways. The banks want their money. Do not get into the forbearance program. So I'm going to shoot this video to you guys, let you guys check it out, and then you guys tell me what you think, okay?
Fairwood, a quiet subdivision in Maryland's Prince George's County, is one of the richest black neighborhoods in the United States. For families like the Boatengs, who are immigrants from Ghana, buying a house here was closely linked to achieving the American dream.
A friend in our church who is a housing agent took us to this neighborhood.
And it was a beautiful community. I mean, I felt, well, this is the place I want my family to live.
And we were excited. I mean, the kids were excited. We're buying a house. Everyone is going to have their room. No more sharing with visitors.
We actually believe that we made the right decision. It was the height of the bubble, because then immediately after that, then there was the burst, and everything was coming down.
There were a lot of things that we didn't know about, until we got in. And at that time, things were going bad. I mean, not only for us, but everybody in the country, everywhere.
A reminder tonight just how fragile the housing market is. 23% of homeowners, nearly 1 in 4, are what's known as underwater on their mortgages, meaning they owe more than their homes are worth.
Since last summer, Americans have seen their investment shrink and their property values plummet.
We are going through the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
One of the places hardest hit by the crisis was Fairwood, and like so many others, the Boatengs were severely impacted. Back in 2005, when the mortgage market was thriving, the Boatengs say they were told they could afford a house worth around $617,000. They made all their mortgage payments for about 2.5 years, but they were financed with a subprime loan, which reset to higher payments, often called shock payments. The Boatengs could not afford the higher amount, and during the mortgage crisis, they could not refinance. Now, they haven't made a payment in more than 6 years. Also, a few years after moving into the house, Comfort lost her job. Determined to work, she started small businesses she could manage from home.
She loves baking. So during the time when we got all this financial stress, we decided, well, why don't we use the same thing that you love to do as a way to get some income at least.
Every week I sell pastries in front of the church. I do that just to raise some funds, just to help me during the week for gas or a few things. Sometimes it makes you feel kind of down. I mean, I've completed my bachelor's degree, they saw it, and then 2 years later I finished my master's and they saw it, but I encourage myself. Because somehow it looks little, but little drops of water forms a mighty ocean.
Comfort eventually found part-time work in the home healthcare industry and still sells baked goods as well. Her husband Kofi continues to work in information technology, and together they earn about $100,000 a year. But it's not enough to cover their debt, which has grown to nearly $1.4 million. Some of their debt is from student and car loans, and some is from money owed on another property. But the majority is from the Fairwood house, which is now only worth 60% of what they originally bought it for. Distraught by their financial situation, the Boatengs look to their church community for support.
We have prayer sessions, right? Times when we pray, and people bring what their needs are. And over, these people were in the same boat like we were.
Indeed, many of the Boatengs' neighbors have also struggled to keep their homes. In Fairwood, half of the loans made between 2006 and 2007 went bad.
You have all these letters bombarding you, threatening you, having sleepless nights. I mean, everything just came to a standstill.
It's the feeling that you've lost everything.
Despite years of living in limbo, the Boatengs haven't given up. They're now working to get a loan modification and still hope to save their home.
Wow, what a video. All I can tell people is you got to do what you think is best for yourself to save yourself. Now, specifically addressing Black people. In 2008, when the economic collapse happened, as we all know, we're always the last ones hired and the first ones fired. Now, here we are in 2020. Even a company right now, let's say you had all these workers and you're a Black man, Black woman, and you're working as an accountant. The company has just shut down. Now they've pushed you into the unemployment line. You were making $80,000 a year, maybe over 100, over 6 figures. You're doing really well for yourself. Now you're gone. Now what do? Either they're going to automate that position, or they might even, the chance of them even asking you back is very slim to none. So we as a people are going to be hit the hardest at the end of this. That is why it is so important that we need to start electing officials that are going to address the Black agenda. Number one on the Black agenda is reparations. The cost of reparations has already been calculated. There's nothing to talk about. $17 trillion lump sum with $3 trillion annually for 25 years. That's what it would take. $1,200 is not going to help you. But according to $17 trillion to approximately, we're 13% of the population, so to approximately 8% of Black people, you're looking at a check about to every Black person in that 8% about $400-something thousand. Now with $400-something thousand, you can pay off any debt you have. You can maybe invest in a business. You can maybe leave this country and start somewhere else. But the debt has been paid, and you can do a lot more with $400-something thousand than you can with $1,200. That's my point. Another point that I have is we as Black people have to stop this mentality of trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's not going to happen. Got another video I want you guys to check out. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, and share these videos, as we've got to get the message out. Black people are going to be the hardest hit at the end of this. They took a third of our wealth in 2008. They're coming back for it for the rest of it. Most of Black wealth was in our house or our car, for those of us that even had that. So if you have a car payment, it's going to be the same situation that you're going to be in regards to even if you had a house. So now our wealth is going to be, I mean, we're pretty much done at this point if we don't change. Now on the Demetra K show, I did talk about some of the things that our white counterparts do. The coronavirus is killing a lot of people, okay? Aunt June and Uncle Buck and all those guys are passing, they're 70-something, they got the virus and they're gone. But guess what? They had $500,000 insurance policies on themselves. Now, when a Black person dies, how many of you guys saw the video that in New York where they were like thinking about, I think they dug the mass grave? Do you think that mass grave was for Uncle Buck and Miss Stacy? No, it wasn't for them. It was for us, because we can't afford, we don't have insurance on ourselves, and we can't even afford to bury ourselves. But we got money for weed, we got money for hair, we got money for nails, we got money for bullshit rims for our cars, we got money for alcohol, cigarettes, we've got money for all of that stuff, but we can't take $10 a month and put insurance on ourselves to bury ourselves. 70% of all white wealth comes from insurance. That's one source of income that they have. Their homes and their car. That's 2. 3, stocks. 4, their job. They have multiple streams of income that keep coming in. I'm just the messenger trying to put the word out there that we've got to change our attitude about how we are going to survive this and move forward. We can't keep relying on this man to save us. He's not going to do it. He's worried about saving himself. Wealth gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, as we know. So it's very we've got to change it. We've got to change it. They are going to, at this point, they can just say, hey, the social safety net, we have to get back to physically sound and get back into the black. Right now, we're in the red. So we won't have those programs. You guys are doing fine without it. There's no big deal. And I didn't want to hear any baby boomers complaining or coming on my channel, talk about, I don't know what I'm talking about, or, that's bullshit, because I noticed that when we talk about your Social Security and not cutting it, that's not a problem. But you don't seem to have a problem of them cutting my Social Security. It's all about you. And that's one of the main problems. We are in these problems now because of the baby boomer generation. That's a fact. I know they don't want to hear it, but that's the truth. So check out the video. I hope it enlightens you a little bit. Pass the word on. If you guys got a good comment, bad comment, I don't mind seeing it. We're here to just have a conversation. Now, speaking for myself, am I going to be okay? Absolutely. I haven't had a job since 2012 when I retired from the military. I just came to the conclusion, you know what? I'm just not going to be a millionaire unless I hit the lottery. I'm Donovan Sadiq, the Inland Empire Informer. You've just been informed.
Dig deep into America's $17 trillion economy, and you'll find fractures beneath the surface. The spoils are split unevenly between men and women, old and young, high school dropouts, and MBAs. But one of the most divisive disparities is only skin deep. This is the economy in black and white. Everything you own, houses, stocks, cars, that's your wealth. In 2011, the wealth of the median white household was over $110,000. African Americans on average 17 times less, just over $6,000. And housing has a lot to do with it. For the average American, their home is the most valuable part of their portfolio. It's an investment that can appreciate with time, and it can be passed from one generation to the next. But the rate of homeownership among whites is 28% higher than that of blacks, and the lingering effects of segregation could be to blame.
Discriminatory practices by the Federal Housing Authority prevented African Americans from buying houses in many suburban neighborhoods. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 sought to level the playing field. But by then, African Americans were entering a housing market that had already seen massive appreciation. Meanwhile, white families had seen their housing investment soar in value during their head start. Fast forward to the 21st century, minority groups were again victims of housing exploitation, this time by big banks. Bank of America and Wells Fargo, among others, were compelled to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in fines and restitution for pushing minorities into exploitative subprime mortgages and charging them higher rates and fees. This contributed to the fact that Blacks and Hispanics lost nearly a quarter of their wealth between 2004 and 2010. Whites lost just 1% during that same period. So the American economy houses two realities, one Black, one white. The divide between them, a measure of inequality.